Leather Rokk here, and today I want to show you a palette you possibly are not familiar with. It's by a company called it's by a company called Kleancolor, and it's the Girls Talk 2 palette. Now, this is a palette that I've had honestly for about 5 years or so. As you can see, I've more than hit pan on a lot of shadows. There are many that are not even here anymore. So I will tell you about them before I talk about and show you the look that I am wearing right now. Now, one of the things that I loved about this palette when I bought it is it had two different kinds of whites, one with green flecks in it, the other with gold flecks. It had 3 different purple shades in it. It had a different gold in it. It had a pale pink and a flesh tone. It has colors that you can use both as eyeshadows and as blushes or even as lip powders. The whites can also be used as highlighters. It had a number of earth tone shadows in it also. It has greens, it has blues in it. So I have obviously used it an awful lot, and as a matter of fact, when I first got it, it looked like it had an iridescence to it. All of the shadows were frosts, and most of them were very practical for my uses. So I think it's really important because I know there's all kinds of new palettes that makeup companies are offering, but it's really important to use up the things that you have. And especially if you have finances that you have to think about, you really should use up the things. And so I'm really trying to discipline myself to use up, because I have an awful lot of makeup if you haven't figured that out. And I really want to use up more things, and not just the lipsticks, which will tend to go rancid after a couple of years. But I really want to use things up, because there's always things that a person wants to buy. But I need to downsize anyway, because I'm going to be moving, I'm sure, within 4 to 6 months, and I need to downsize because I don't know how big my next place is going to be. I don't know how many roommates I'm going to have. And if ultimately I'm going to move back to California, I really need to downsize because I need to have the things that will fit in whatever is going to get me to the West Coast. So I have to think about that. So without further ado, let's get to this tutorial of the Kleancolor Girls Talk 2 palette. And I don't like to give titles to makeup looks because it's really hard to do it, but I'm kind of calling this the Seafoam look because this has blues and greens in it. And let me show you what it looks like without the light glare. So I'm going to show you how I did this. And the first thing I need to do is tie my hair up somehow. And you watch, I always forget my hair tie thing. So I guess I'll do what I used the last time, and I will use this. Alrighty, and I have my trusty coconut oil here, and I've got my spoon, and if the windows rattle kind of weird, we have, I don't know if it's quite a nor'easter, but we've got a rainstorm, not thunder and lightning or anything, but the winds are kind of heavy. And some pieces of our siding even blew off the building. So if it gets a little wild out there, if you hear some rattling, don't be too surprised. I hope none of this comes off on the white shirt, which I'd never layered under this dress before, but being that the heat is still on and This house feels kind of drafty. Sometimes, and I know in a couple of months I'm going to be complaining because it's going to be too hot. But, like, I'll be bundling up in long sleeves during the day. But then when it's time for filming, I want to wear something nice. But by layering this dress with a long sleeve shirt, it gives the dress a completely different look. Okay. Oh, I forgot to bring my washcloth to really do a better job of wiping my face. Oh well. Let's see, which mirror am I going to use? I really don't like using makeup mirrors from palettes that are not the palette that I'm using because I'm afraid it might look misleading on camera. But hey, it's a mirror to grab. Okay. Alrighty. Now, what I used underneath my eyeshadow, I used the e.l.f. Complete Coverage Concealer Quartet. And with concealers, I tend to use the lightest one they have because that's the kind of skin that I have. If you only have foundation makeup, and foundation, of course, tends to dry down in a while, one way that you can make foundation work for you is after applying the foundation, just put a very tiny amount of oil, like this coconut oil for instance, on top and press that in with your finger. And what the coconut oil will do is that will keep the foundation from drying down too much so that when you put your eyeshadow on, the eyeshadow will have something to stick. This is a technique that I dumbed across myself when I forgot to bring something like this when I was at a music convention one time. When you're stuck in a hotel room with only some of your stuff, you're going to get creative. That's just how it is. Okay. Now, the first color that we're going to use out of this is going to be the light blue that's up in here. Now, this is probably one of my least favorite colors. Pale blues don't really do anything for me, but colors in combination with other colors, you can get them to work. So, now I'm going to try to make sure that you see this, that my face stays in frame for this. Sometimes when I'm using a mirror to look at what I'm doing, I realize that the mirror obscures and you can't end up seeing what I'm doing. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind. Now I'm applying this from the crease to below the brow bone. And most of this is going to be covered up anyway. But I start with that. Then I am going to get this green, greenish blue, bluish green that's right here. And the brush that I'm using for this is a brush that I got at the dollar store. I think the company is called Vivace or Vivace. I don't know. I mean, how can you tell how something's pronounced if you've never heard somebody pronounce it? And if a person has a name that they made up, they can pronounce it any way they want. Or they can choose to pronounce it any way they want, even if it was originally not pronounced that way. If the first pass doesn't come off opaque enough, feel free to go back over. Now, I'm also going to sweep this up again on the diagonal. And you want to make sure that not only does this meet the color that's up top, but you want to overlap just a little bit to make sure that you don't have any bare skin or bare seaming skin sticking out at the crease area. And you know what, while I'm at it, I'm going to go back on this side to make sure that you can tell the difference between the lower area and the upper area, since they're obviously two different colors. Now, I'm going to use, there were two white shades in this palette initially. One of them is gone. Actually, no, there were three white shades. This one here, this one, and there's a little bit left in this one. So this is the one that I'm going to use. And one thing else I noticed, when you have already hit pan in a shadow, and it's, say, a pan that's got pointy edges such as this, if you have to use a fingernail or even a point of a pin or a push pin or something, break up that tiny little point of it, and then you'll get shadow. Will be a lot easier to get on the brush or the applicator. Now what I'm going to do with this little bit of white that's up here, and I really do need to look in the mirror to do this, I'm going to go close to the brow bone. You don't want to absolutely touch the eyebrows though, especially if they have makeup on them, because in my case, because I have purple eyebrows, the last thing I want to do is end up making a pink smear underneath the eyebrow. So that's just something you have to be careful of. Now you could always do the eyeshadow first and then do your eyebrows, but I find that it's kind of better to have the eyebrows on first, because it really gives your eyeshadow and your whole eye area a frame to work with. And it's also good to have your eyebrows on so that when you're doing the eyeliner, you get it where it's supposed to go. Now, I just want to make sure that my eyebrows are a little bit more symmetrical. I screwed up on the point. One goes over in a slightly different area than the other one is. I'm probably not going to try to correct that on camera, because I think that would take up too much time. I mean, I noticed my eyebrows seemed a little crooked a couple hours ago, but I didn't choose to do anything about it. Yeah, that would, repositioning the point would be really, it would take too much time and it would be too tricky. There. Alrighty. Now, time for the eyeliner. Okay, this time I'm breaking out the Maybelline Master Precise by iStudio. This is not waterproof, but what I like about it is it doesn't give me the raccoon eyes that so many other eyeliners do. That just irritates me no end. Now, you know what? Because I took off some of the foundation when I put the coconut oil on, I'm going to replenish the foundation first. I'm using the Maybelline True Match in W1 Porcelain, L'Oreal True Match. Let me show you what it looks like without the glare of the light. See? And I'm very happy with the color on this. I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating. I really prefer to use a finger to do my makeup application. I find that it gives the most seamless results. It blends better. The finger has body warmth, which helps to blend. I don't get streaks. When people use sponges and the beauty blenders, so many people are so nuts over, they absorb too much product and they take forever to clean. and you've got all this liquid color on a sponge, and sponges of course can harbor bacteria, and that's just too much bother. I don't think it's worth it. When I see people using those beauty blenders, I mean, it just seems to me that they go through their foundation very fast, and all I can think of is how the heck do they clean that thing? Because you gotta have probably 3 or 4 of them, because by the time you wash it and you have to wait for it to dry, I just I keep on thinking of all the germ growth. Okay, now last time I did this, I think I was off camera, so I really want to try to stay in frame. Okay, I want to start at the top. And I'm not finished with all the eyeshadow, by the way, because I forgot to put the color in the corner. But I'm going to do this now. Now, before I do the point on the inner corner, I want to apply one more color. There's a green right here. It's kind of like a pea green. It's got yellow in it, and it's brighter than avocado green. And a lot of times a person will use a highlighter color in. But I thought that if I used white would just end up looking like I accidentally took some eyeshadow off. So that's why I went with the bright green, this pea green. Now these colors don't come with names. And matter of fact, I've had this palette so long, I don't even have the label on the back anymore. Now, I want to get a point on the inside. Another thing I like about this particular eyeliner is you can control how thick or thin the point is just by how hard you press. If I press heavier, it'll thicken out. And if I want a real fine point, just drag only the tip. So you have control that way. And it doesn't take too long for it to dry. Then it's safe for you to blink. Because if it's wet, it can smudge. But just let it dry some, and then you'll be fine. Now this is the mascara that I'm using for this. This is probably not going to last me too much longer, but that's okay because I got several LA Colors mascaras the last time I was at the Dollar Tree, which is where they came from. So this mascara only sent me back $1, and I like those kind of prices. One thing that concerns me when I watch a lot of other beauty YouTubers is, number one, when they use almost exclusively very high-end products. That, from my experience with the high-end products that I have used, I'm really not convinced that the quality is worth the price. And when people showcase almost exclusively very high-end products, it makes me, I don't want to say it affects my self-esteem, because that would be ridiculous to say that, but to use products that are really expensive, yes, that is exclusionary. It does feel like this is something that not everybody can afford. So, but I have to always question, is the quality worth the cost? And also, buying so many more things than you need when other things in your life may suffer because you're spending all this money on skincare and makeup. When are you eating nutritious food? Are you paying your rent? Do you have dependents who rely on you, but you're not able to provide for them because you have a very expensive makeup and skincare and clothes habit? I have a choice as to what I can spend my money on, but I also believe in the value of saving. And so frankly, I would rather not spend what I absolutely don't have to. As much as I love my skincare and as much as I love my makeup, these aren't the most important things in life. I have, for instance, a cat who I'm very concerned about. He could be very sick. Poor Ace here. He's probably going to require medical attention. If I'm always spending top dollar on the It makeup palette, and some of those makeup palettes that they're selling now are over $100. If I had that kind of money, I would not spend it on those top level, high priced things, because I just think that that's a wasteful way to spend money. I mean, sure, spend money on something if the quality is really wonderful and if it does what you need it to do, and if it's the best thing to give you the effect that you wish to achieve. But why spend more than you have to? It does not make any sense to me, and I just don't think it can be justified. So, and if I believe in living kind of frugally, or if at least I believe in not living beyond my means, then the conscience that I have suggests to me that I shouldn't advocate for people to live wasteful lives or to spend more than they can afford to, because number one, I think that's an irresponsible thing to do. Number two, I would rather practice what I'm preaching. So I'm not saying that in my future time as a YouTuber I won't also showcase high quality things. Who knows, maybe I'll get rich and famous in a couple of years and I'll be able to change the tone of my channel, and I'll be able to showcase the finer things in life. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those fine things, and there's nothing wrong with personal growth, but I would like the focus, part of the focus of my channel, on having great things and not having to spend too much for them. And you can have a quality of life that does not require always spending a whole lot of money. That's one of the things that I would like to get across. And as I get more prosperous in life, I would like to continue to live beneath my means so that I can save money. And then the more money you make, you should be able to save it, not just spend more to keep up with your income. Because what happens is then you get used to a certain standard of living, and then when your income fluctuates or drops, as often will happen in life, then what happens? You have to force yourself to get used to living on less. But if, as you increase the money you're making, if you put money away and save it and not spend too much money, then you keep a discipline in your finances, and it's just a better way to live. Just my opinion. Okay, if you like, oh yeah, before I close off, it occurred to me the last couple of times I did these videos, I didn't say all the products that I use. Some of these, I know it sounds like a broken record. For my contour, I use the CoverGirl Professional Eye Enhancers in the color Jammin' Improvisation. Okay. For the lipstick, I use B&H Cosmetics Pop Art, and the color is called Slam, and it's a nice bright red. And I think with colors like this, red is quite divine. Now, what other colors did I use? Alrighty, for the highlight, I used this little brush, and I used the B&H Cosmetics Black Light Highlight Palette, and to go kind of with my eyes, I used the blue highlighter. And let me turn the light out so you can see that. Now, if you have any kind of color to your skin, I don't know that I would necessarily recommend this palette. They have another palette that I think is more suitable for darker skins. It's called the Stoplight or Spotlight Highlight. But the Black White Highlight, I think, is for the whiter people, whereas the Spotlight Highlight, I think, the black people can use. Now, if you belong to that demographic, you can feel free to correct me if you know better. I don't think it's my place to recommend what I think the colors are for darker people, but certainly from personal experience, I can tell you what works for me. So, but if I do get experience with putting makeup on different colors of people and I learn what works for them, sure, I can pass on the information. I keep on thinking that there's something that I forgot to mention here. Okay, I can't put a handle on it, so I guess I'll sign off. If you like these videos, first of all, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up for me. Make comments. I respond to all comments unless you're casting a pox on my family or something. And then it depends on which family member you're casting that pox on, because all family is not created equal, you know. Yeah, give it a thumbs up. I'd love to have you subscribe. You know how to hit the subscribe button and then hit that bell notification. Then you'll know when I make my next upload. I upload 3 times a week, and I'd love to have you join the family. I always have adventures. I'd love to bring you along. Until then, talk to you soon. Bye.